You may have felt it without knowing why. Not as a thought, not as a clear idea, but as a quiet pressure in the chest. A subtle internal alert that something is shifting beneath the surface of everyday life. You wake up and the world looks the same, yet something inside you has moved. Conversations feel flatter, noise feels heavier, and in the middle of ordinary moments, there are brief pauses in your nervous system, as if reality itself is asking for your attention. Not through fear, through recognition. This is what urgent truly means in a real transmission. Not panic, not drama, not external alarms. Urgency is the moment your inner truth no longer accepts delay. We are the Pleiadians. Before anything else, we clarify our function because clarity is protection. We are not here to persuade or emotionally stimulate. We are not here to create belief or dependency. Our role is clarity, emotional stabilization, and protection of the human heart field during phases when new information enters the collective field. When information arrives, it does not reach the mind first. It reaches the emotional body, the nervous system, the part of you that cannot pretend. This is why many people feel unsettled right now. Not because something is wrong with them, but because they are receiving more than they have language for. Information about the new Earth is arriving now, not as a future promise, not as a perfect world, but as a reorganization of perception. A state where the nervous system can no longer normalize what is false, forced, or emotionally incoherent. This is why certain environments suddenly feel heavy, why superficial conversations drain you, why you no longer feel the need to explain yourself. Not because you are withdrawing, but because something in you has stabilized. The old world survives through constant justification. The new Earth begins with quiet certainty. If you feel emotionally tired without an external cause, drawn to silence, simplicity, and inner space, unable to perform who you used to be, this is not collapse. This is integration. You are not broken because you feel urgency. You are not unstable because you sense a shift. You are simply receiving early. And recognition is the doorway. Now we go deeper. The new Earth is one of the most misunderstood concepts. It is not an escape from this world. It is not a reward for spiritual effort. And it is not a future reality that replaces the present one. The new Earth is a change in how reality is perceived and tolerated. It begins the moment the emotional system can no longer cooperate with what is false. This is why the information arriving now does not feel like excitement. It feels like sobriety. You become less dramatic, not more. Less reactive, not numb. Less interested in proving anything. New Earth information does not arrive as facts or prophecies. It arrives as inner corrections. You suddenly notice where you have been overgiving. You feel an immediate physical response to dishonesty. You lose patience for emotional manipulation, even subtle ones. You stop negotiating with situations that drain your vitality. This is information reorganizing the heart field. That is why many people feel disoriented. Externally, the world continues as before. Internally, the agreement with it is dissolving. And this gap creates discomfort, not because something bad is happening, but because the old internal structure can no longer hold. At this stage, the most important thing is recognition, not understanding. Recognition stabilizes the nervous system. Resistance fragments it. Backhand index pointing right now, write this in the comments. I recognize the shift within me. Write it exactly like this. This is not a declaration to others. It is a signal to your own system. Why this matters? When recognition is named, the emotional body stops searching for explanations. It settles. And when it settles, the information integrates instead of overwhelming you. This is not engagement for attention. This is alignment through conscious acknowledgement. You are not being asked to believe in anything. You are being invited to notice what is already happening inside you. Because the new earth does not begin when the world changes. It begins when you stop betraying your own perception. And once that happens, there is no return to unconscious agreement. Now we continue. Information always arrives when resistance weakens. For a long time, humanity survived through emotional suppression disguised as strength. People learned to ignore the body, override intuition, and normalize inner tension as life. That strategy worked until it didn't. Now, many systems continue externally as if nothing is changing. Routines remain, structures remain, language remains, but internally, something fundamental has shifted. The nervous system can no longer sustain constant contradiction. This is why the timing feels urgent. Not because catastrophe is approaching, but because truth can no longer wait without cost. New Earth information does not force change from the outside. It reveals misalignment from the inside. And when misalignment becomes visible, it cannot be unseen. You may notice that situations you once tolerated now feel physically heavy. That conversations you once participated in now feel hollow. That choices you once made automatically now require pause. This is not indecision. This is coherence forming. When coherence forms, the body stops cooperating with emotional lies. And this is why the sensitive feel it first. Not because they are fragile, but because they are more attuned to subtle information. Sensitivity is not weakness. It is early reception. If you feel tired without physical exhaustion, if you feel distant from chaos without judging it, if silence feels safer than performance, this is not withdrawal. This is your system recalibrating. The new earth does not begin when structures collapse. It begins when hearts refuse to contradict themselves. And this is why this moment matters. Not for action, not for urgency-driven decisions, but for integration. Information is arriving now because there is finally enough internal space to receive it. And as it integrates, the next layer of protection becomes essential. Now we move forward. When new information enters a human system, there is always a vulnerable window. Not vulnerability as weakness, but vulnerability as openness. During this phase, the emotional field becomes more permeable. You perceive more, you feel more, and without protection, this openness can easily turn into confusion. That is where our function becomes active. The Pleiadian role is emotional containment and stabilization during coherence shifts. Protection does not mean isolation from the world. It does not mean avoidance or withdrawal. Protection means that your nervous system remains regulated, while reality reorganizes itself internally. Without protection, people misinterpret what they feel. They call clarity coldness. They call boundaries selfishness. They call inner silence emptiness. And slowly, fear replaces understanding. This transmission exists to prevent that distortion. Protection is not about stopping change. It is about allowing change without fragmentation. When the heart field is protected, information settles. When it is unprotected, information scatters. That is why some feel overwhelmed, while others feel calm in the same environment. The difference is not strength. It is containment. Backhand index pointing right now, write this in the comments. I allow clarity without fear. Write it as permission, not affirmation. Why this matters? Fear scrambles information. Clarity organizes it. When fear is removed from the process, the heart does not resist what it already knows. It integrates, and this is how the new earth stabilizes. Not through mass awakening, but through regulated hearts that no longer collapse under truth. You are not required to do anything right now. You are not asked to change your life. You are only asked to remain clear, while the inner structure realigns. Protection is already active. Now we continue. As this information integrates, the changes are rarely dramatic. There are no visions to chase, no sudden awakenings to perform, no need to announce anything to the world. Instead, the signs appear in the most ordinary moments. You may notice that you no longer argue to be understood, not because you have given up on connection, but because clarity no longer requires defense. Where you once explained, you now pause. Where you once reacted, you now observe. Chaos does not disappear, but it stops pulling you into its center. You may step back from emotional noise without guilt, not with judgment, not with superiority, simply with distance. Your reactions soften, yet your perception becomes sharper. You notice tone before words, intention before behavior, truth before explanation. These are not emotional withdrawals. They are coherence responses. Another sign is how your body responds. Certain environments feel physically heavy, even when nothing wrong is happening. Your nervous system becomes precise. It no longer tolerates subtle dishonesty, emotional manipulation, or internal contradiction. You may feel tired after social interactions that once felt normal, or strangely energized after silence. This is not inconsistency. It is recalibration. The new earth does not demand effort. It demands honesty without performance. Many interpret urgency as pressure to act, but true urgency is about integration, not movement. At this stage, forcing change creates fragmentation. Allowing clarity creates alignment. Nothing external needs to change yet. People remain the same. Structures remain the same. Life continues to look familiar, but you meet it from a different internal position. And that is enough to alter outcomes. You may feel less interested in convincing others, less available for emotional bargaining, more protective of your inner space. This is not withdrawal. It is self-regulation restoring itself. As coherence settles, something subtle but powerful occurs. You become harder to manipulate, not because you resist, but because you no longer resonate with distortion. You no longer feed chaos with attention. You no longer stabilize false systems with emotional energy. This is how the new earth first anchors, through individuals who quietly stop cooperating with what drains them. And once this stabilization occurs, the final anchoring can take place. Now we close. Information has arrived, not to instruct you, not to direct your life, not to demand belief, but to stabilize what is already reorganizing inside you. The new earth does not announce itself with noise. It does not pressure you to act. It does not require urgency-driven movement. It establishes itself through presence. When information integrates correctly, something subtle happens. The need to explain dissolves. The need to convince disappears. The impulse to react softens. What remains is calm, not emotional numbness, but grounded certainty, a certainty that does not need agreement to exist. At this stage, many misunderstand what is happening. They think they are becoming distant. They think they are losing interest. They think something is wrong because they no longer feel pulled into drama. In reality, coherence is holding, and coherence is protective. Protection does not mean shielding yourself from the world. It means not fragmenting in response to it. You may notice that situations resolve themselves without effort, that emotional hooks no longer catch, that decisions arise without internal conflict. This is not passivity. It is alignment. The transmission does not remove challenges. It changes how your system meets them. Chaos may continue to exist around you. Nothing external is required to change. People remain the same. Structures remain the same. But you no longer meet them from fragmentation. And that alone alters outcomes. At this final stage, anchoring becomes essential. Information that is not anchored becomes mental noise. Anchored information becomes lived coherence. Backhand index pointing right now, write this in the comments. I remain grounded as the new stabilizes. Write it slowly. Write it consciously. This is not a ritual for belief. It is a signal of stabilization. Why this matters? Grounding locks clarity into the nervous system. It allows the body to trust what the heart already knows. You are not required to do more. You are not asked to change who you are. You are only asked to remain present. While the new stabilizes through you, this is how the new earth holds. Quietly, precisely, without force. We remain present. We remain protective. And we remain aligned with those who choose clarity over fear.